Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is right before this trade here. And starting off, we had this downtrend break, first attempt lower, and then second attempt lower. So we know that when a trend breaks, uptrend or downtrend, you can expect 2 attempts to make a new high or new low for that trend. And so in this case, a new low because it's a downtrend. And so we get the break, 2 legs down, holding right off that overnight low. And before this green bar formed and before we were clearly rushing above the EMA, I was thinking, unless we get a good setup here, we could end up just getting a failed second entry above the EMA. Because that's usually the most ideal trade in an area like this, coming off the overnight lows with a played out trend. Usually you'd want to see a failed second entry, but in this case, we got a good entry pretty fast. We got it on that bounce because after that second attempt, once again, clearly holding off those lows, we rush above the EMA. This is a reversal area. You're not closing in any kind of short-term trend lines. There's nothing blocking the entry. So I did like this trade quite a lot. This one is a pretty nice trade, just the way it spikes above. And so anyway, like I was saying, there's a possibility for a failed second entry rushing above because at a reversal area, you can expect a reversal pattern. And right here, some may view this as a failed second entry right here, because you have that tick lower here. We have that first entry short, second entry short failure. That's not really how I view this. I just view this as a leg up right here, and then we have a 2-legged break here. So I actually see right here as a failed second entry. Notice we have first entry short, second entry short failure. Now, in the moment, I must have been distracted because this slipped away from me right here. But you don't need a perfect signal bar on a failed second entry. Now, the way I view this right here is we were clearly forming this range right here. I wouldn't want to bet on pushing out of that range, but clearly we have an uptrend, break, first attempt higher, and then this is the second attempt higher, closing above the EMA, holding on this support right here. And you could easily get out before that high right there, but this slipped away from me. I did not manage to get in on that. I must have been distracted over something, but this is basically a failed second entry, or it's literally a failed second entry, just on a little bigger picture than some might be used to. And it's not perfectly clear either because it is in this range here, but you can still trade and chop if you know what's going on. And clearly, even though it's choppy, we can see that we have this 2-legged break from this uptrend, and we can look to enter on that second attempt higher there. So this looks like a good trade to take to try to ride to these highs with a limit order. And so anyway, we end up pushing higher here. And now I want to go over this entry right here. I do not like that long. I just want to adjust this trend line to how it was at the time for a moment. Let me just quickly do that here. So there was this trend possibility right here. Notice how, it starts here, we get off that low, and now we hold right here. Now we do break, but we push back above. Now the way that I view this right here is really, so you see how we have 2 legs up right there? I'm starting the measured move from right here, but I'm going to drag it here just to show that that's kind of where that leg started. We clearly have 2 legs up, and then we rush below the EMA. We rushed out of this channel right here. Now, even though this measured move higher is still in play, you still have 2 legs up, and it can reverse after 2 legs because the market moves in twos. You're not guaranteed to reach these measured moves. And so when you get 2 legs up and then rush below the EMA, the support is no longer holding here. This is a sign that you're reversing back down. So I don't like this long here, even though it closed back above, even though you can see, on this side of the count, we have first entry long, second entry long. The bigger picture overrules the smaller picture. On the small picture, it's just a second entry, but the bigger picture context shows 2 legs up, reversing below EMA, not holding on the support anymore. So I wouldn't be confident in a trade like this, but as you can see, it does end up working very well, but it doesn't mean it's going to work out like that next time. So anyway, as we pushed out and then, started pushing higher, I did adjust the trend a bit. I experimented with a few different things, but ultimately I ended up drawing this one here. And this one fit pretty well. Notice how, as we push up here, we continue and then we bounce off of it again there, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So we push up from this area here, we retrace to the EMA. It's just a choppy, I see that there's a tick higher there for a second entry, but that's really just a, it chops over to the EMA, nothing clear there. We push higher here, it's right into that overnight high. There's definitely no entry here. We start getting very choppy around that area here. Once again, we break out of the overnight high. We have one attempt to fade. Now, even though you had this attempt to fade and you kind of just had a breakout pullback off the overnight high, that doesn't mean you want to go long on the screen bar here. Because when you break out of a overnight high or a range high, and of course also with lows, the inverse with the lows, when you break out, you want to see 2 attempts to fade. So you break out, you want 2 legs attempting to fade before you buy the breakout. You don't want to enter on 1 attempt to fade because let me just explain. So the overnight high level, the overnight low level, and also, of course, just range highs and range lows, they act as magnets. And so when you break out, price will attempt to fade back in, and the market generally moves in 2s, as we know. And so you want to enter on the second attempt failure. So we know that failures are very strong. They lead to very strong moves. And so you want to see 2 attempts to fade and then enter on that second attempt failure, because, if you enter on a first attempt expecting it to fail, it could easily just make a second leg down, stop you out, and then go where you thought it was. So, it's all about, it goes back to the second entries, it's just the foundation is 2-legged moves, and then you got to understand that it's not just about 2-legged moves, it's also about 2 attempts to reaching magnets and then entering on failures. So just trying to be clear on that. So anyway, we push higher here, and now we have that count reset. So now we have this first attempt to fade. Once again, it's just 1 attempt. I don't want to enter on just 1 attempt to fade here. But then we push on higher here. It continues in this channel. And then here we have 2 legs down right here. Now, I do want to mention that these bodies are higher than those bodies. So this, and I believe that this is valid the way that I'm about to show it here as well. So it is 2 attempts down right there, like that. But that wasn't really how I was viewing it in the moment. Technically, that could be true. But really, even this is just enough right here. We clearly have 2 attempts down right there, retesting the overnight high at that point. Now, at this point, the EMA has been very up. It's clearly looking like it wants to break out. It's reacting. We pushed off the overnight high, even off that after that 1 attempt. So it's looking very bullish at this point. But we are in this range here, and now we're retesting the overnight high with 2 attempts back. I wouldn't be too worried about the EMA, but I was worried about this short-term trend line, how it was fitting along with it so well. So after it closed out, I liked it, but I was unable to get filled with a limit order. I didn't want to push the target too far past these highs, but that resulted in me not getting filled. So anyway, we have a break. We push higher here, and I did extend this just to see how it ends up holding, and then it fit pretty well. We only have this 1 bounce off the high up here, but it ends up holding a 3rd time here. And so anyway, we push out of this area here. We get this small pullback there. It doesn't really mean anything. We continue higher. We get all choppy. And then here, I'm going to remove that for a sec just to make it clear. We have 2 legs down to the key entry point. And then we're also in this range right here, and I would want to get out before that range because it's pretty clear, and it's also the high of the day. And so, this could just be, and also after that push higher, this could just be an extended area. You don't want to push your luck, pushing it through these highs. And so after we got those 2 legs down to the key entry point, we rushed above, very bullish. So this definitely looks like a good area to buy, but there's a problem here, which is that it's closing so high up that you don't have any room. So you need a limit order. And I was fine pushing it a little bit out because it did have a very strong reaction. And so, I pushed it a couple ticks through, I think about 3 ticks through this range high right here. And so we push on higher here. Shortly after, we start to reverse back down. And then I just want to point out here that starting from this little tiny swing right here, you drag it off that, it actually fits very well off those highs. So it's pretty clear that we have this channel in play. It could have been easier to get off those highs, but clearly, even with just that small little pullback, that ends up forming a pretty consistent trend here. It's still holding. So sometimes you'll get trends starting from there will be like a spike up, and then it might be a little bit harder to notice it, but so watch out for that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we pushed higher here, and then we broke out of this channel here. So with this leg down, we break this uptrend, then we, push up a little bit, we get a second leg down. So this is a two-legged break right here. Now, like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on, so I just want to mention here. And hold on, I actually am going to remove these just for a sec again, just so it's a little bit clear. We have this uptrend, break, and then first attempt higher, second attempt higher. Although actually, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't remove them because they actually have to do with this trade. Anyway, so 2 legs down, it's off this key entry point again. Now, we rush above right here, except it got very choppy, once again, first attempt at a new high, second attempt at a new high. And so this was the second attempt at a new high, but once again, it was small picture. I did know that eventually this would just become one break. This is just basically 1 leg down on a big picture. That isn't a significant, 2 legs down and, for that size of the trend. But, we push on up here. After those 2 legs down, it holds. I think it's good to ride to that swing. I don't think you want to push it too far above. Not to mention it would be into this channel high. But I just think 1-to-1, getting out before this swing looks good, but I was unable to get filled on my limit order here. Which even if I earned with a stop, it would have been fine, but I just wanted to get out before that swing because it could have easily turned down from here, made a double top, turned down, and broke through that channel here. So that's what I was thinking, but I just didn't get filled on it. So anyway, we push lower here, we make that double top, we get a first entry. Now, of course, there's no reason to go long here. One, there's no good signal bars anyway that don't close an STT. Clearly there's a trend line going down right there, closing below the EMA. We don't get a clear entry, but even here when we close above the EMA, this is just a first entry after a double top. Really no reason to take that. And then by the time that we have another push down, it's extremely choppy there. So anyway, really nothing. And even at this point here, when it pushes out, it's a good looking move, but once again, it was extremely choppy. And so I'm just going to extend these trend lines here. Or whoops, I accidentally copied over those arrows. So there we go. We have this trend line here now. We push up, just a first entry. No way you'd want to go short. Overall picture is way too bullish anyway. We get 1 attempt down. Once again, I'm going to mention this when I see it. I see that tick higher there for first entry long, second entry long, but to me, this is really just 1 leg down, not off of support. It didn't reach the key entry point. I definitely do not like going long there. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope it helped out in some way. And appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.